Welcome to Among the Lilies. This is a show for ladies who are tired of pretending and are ready to be real. I'm your host, Cameron Frad, and today I'm going to talk to you about being a perfect mom. Okay, it's actually the feast day of the Immaculate Conception, so we all know who the perfect mom is, right? But I have a confession. I am not a perfect mom. I don't know if you know that. If you've been listening to me for any more than 5 minutes on this or my podcast or anything, you already know that I'm not a perfect mom. But I don't know. I kind of just want to share a little bit with you from my childhood. And I don't know. Our Lady, man, she's amazing. She is beautiful. I love all of her feast days, but in particular today on her, the feast of her Immaculate Conception. So she was conceived without sin, right? For any of my non-Catholic listeners, what does that even mean? What are the words coming out of your mouth, Cameron? Please explain. So she was conceived without original sin. So kind of like Adam and Eve in the garden, right? They were also, I don't know if conceived isn't the right word, but they also had no original sin, right? They were capable of sinning. So people are like, oh, well, you think Mary couldn't sin? And it's like, no, she could have. At any point, she could have chosen to sin, but she didn't choose to sin. Just like Adam and Eve could have chosen to sin. The gospel readings for today, we hear that, right? What happens? God says, and you, all of you, Protestant friends of mine know this as well. Evangelicals, you get it. In Genesis where it says, the Lord's like, how do you know? Adam and Eve are hiding and we're naked. And he's like, how do you know you're naked? Who told you that you were naked? And it's like, you must have eaten from the tree of knowledge. You ate of the forbidden fruit that I told you not to eat of. And Adam right away is like, it was Eve. It was the woman you put in the garden. She made me do it. It's her fault. And what does Eve say? It was the serpent. He made me do it. So right away, everyone's pointing fingers, right? And Our Lady, just as Eve chose to take that forbidden fruit and want to be like God, Eve could have, Mary could have chosen to sin at any point in time, but she didn't. She chose not to. She remained sinless her entire life. And that makes her a perfect human being, a perfect mother, where I feel like that makes sense. If I was God, I would want me or my own son to be raised by a perfect mother. I love my children very much. They are wonderful and amazing. I have failed them so many times. Even the priest at Mass today was talking about how some of you, especially if you're a mama's girl, or a mama's boy, you think your mom's perfect and sinless and so amazing. And I looked over and smiled at my son, and it said something. And then as I was smiling at him, he said, they take care of you when you're sick and they make you feel better. And my almost 14-year-old was like, oh, you weren't even here when I was sick. I was like, that's true. I was just out of town when he was sick. And I was like, I called you every day. I was praying for you. I'm really sorry. I was talking him through what medicine to take and vitamins. But he's right. I wasn't there. And so he sees that maybe as a way that I failed him. Knowing him, he was trying to be funny. And but I am not a perfect mom. And you are not a perfect mom if you are a mom. People that aren't parents are perfect parents in their minds, I think. Whenever, I don't know, before I had kids, I was going to be a perfect parent. And I think whenever anyone gives child advice and they don't have any children, in their mind, they are a perfect mom or a perfect dad. But once you have kids, you're like, holy cow, this is hard. I'm not sleeping and I'm exhausted and my body's stretched in all these weird ways and I'm leaking and I'm emotional and it's just a big hot mess. You first-time moms know what I'm talking about, right? And those of you that are well-seasoned, more like myself, also know what I'm talking about. When I was young, my mom and I did not have the best relationship. I was not a mama's girl by any means. I was more of a tomboy, and I hung out with my dad more. And my mom and I fought a lot. My mom would tell my sisters to do something, and they did it, right? Or if they got a spanking, they cried, and they did the right thing. Where I would get a spanking, I'm like, oh, that didn't hurt. And I was definitely a difficult child to raise. I will admit that for sure. And I think my mom did the best she could. I stretched her a lot And we fought a lot, and we fought all the time. And it was really rough, especially in those like junior high years, right? And I remember one time her saying to me, she would say all sorts of stuff that was not loving, and I would yell back, and we would just get in these ugly fights. And I remember like storming off to my room once, and my mom saying, "You just wait," or it was, "I hope you have a kid just like you when you grow up, and then you'll know how hard it is to be a mom to you." And then, and I was like, "Yeah, I won't be anything like you." She's like, "You're going to be just like me when you grow up. Like you'll see, you know?" And I was so angry. And I remember going to my room and slamming the door and just being like, oh, I don't want to be like her, like especially in the bad. My mom's amazing in so many ways, and I would love to be more like her. Like if I could decorate a Christmas tree the way my mom could decorate a Christmas tree, holy cow, or give presents and gifts. Like my mom has a lot of gifts and talents, but in this particular area where we were fighting, I did not want to be like her at all. And in junior high, I would get grounded to my friend's house. And I remember one time, no one was home except for her dad. And they have 4 girls. I'm one of 4 girls. And my neighbor down the street was one of 4 girls. And this was like my best friend from childhood. And I would get grounded to her house. And the dad was like, "You know, Madeline and the girls aren't here, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I'm grounded." And he looked at me and he's like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, my mom said if she grounds me to my house, it's more punishment to her. So now I just get grounded to your house." And he's like, "Okay. Yeah." And he was fine with it. We like watched a sports game or something. Or maybe Fox News. He was really obsessed with Fox News. And anyhow, my best friend's mom was like uber Catholic and like prayed the rosary and like invited me to be part of a rosary group. And I laughed and I was like, "Oh my goodness, we have those necklaces too. Like you pray them. That's so funny." No, I don't want to do that. Until there was a couple of cute boys around our age and we're like, "Of course we want to pray the rosary." And I didn't know how to do it. So I would just like switched speeds. Once I noticed people were a lot further ahead, I just kind of move it quickly. But one of the things she told me, one of the times my mom and I had a big ugly fight, and she told me, she said, "Cameron, you know that you have a perfect mom?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, Miss Madeline, I don't think you've met my mom. I definitely do not have a perfect mom." "Oh, decline. Sorry, someone's calling in the middle of a podcast. How rude is that?" But she said, "No, Cameron, I mean Our Lady." And I was like, I'm not following. Like, that statue is my perfect mom. And she's like, "No, it's not just a statue. She's a person. She's amazing. She's Jesus's mom. She rocked him to sleep. She breastfed him. She just loved him, right? And she was always open to God, and she's just always known him and is very close. And now she's in heaven and she looks down on us. And I think that you are her precious little girl and she loves you." And I remember just kind of hearing that and taking it in and being like, okay, this perfect heavenly mom. Okay, that's weird, but okay, like maybe. And at this time in my life, I felt like I was, I don't know, maybe too bad. Yeah, too bad, too sinful. I made a lot of really bad choices. I had major, major anger issues, even at a young age. Gosh. Yeah. This time was like around middle school, junior high. This was probably junior high. But I had a lot of rage and anger and, self-hatred and just a lot of stuff that I was trying to work through that I was not working through well at all. And I just couldn't talk to God at all. I don't know if I prayed when I was little. Honestly, I don't really remember. So the first prayer I remember praying was to Our Lady. I'll tell you exactly what I prayed, but I'm going to fast forward to being pregnant with my firstborn. I was pregnant with Liam, didn't know if he was a boy or girl. I was pregnant and we went to a Marian apparition site and we were hiking up this mountain where Our Lady had appeared. And I was so thankful to be pregnant. I had stage 4 endometriosis before Matt and I ever met. I had already had surgery. And shortly after we got married, I had my second laparoscopy to try to get rid of the endometriosis. So I knew like fertility was going to be an issue for me. I knew that from the time I was, I think 18. And so Matt and I got married. I want to say he was like so we were like early 20s anyhow. And I started getting crazy sick again and knew that my endometriosis was out of control and all over everywhere and just making a big hot mess inside of me. And I desperately wanted to have kids. And so we moved to Ireland, and I told the priest that hired us, I'm like, I need you to know that we're going to be trying to have children. And thank God for Creighton. Thank God for NAPRO technology. I really think that all 4 of my kids that I have here on earth are miracles, and I'm so thankful for them. But with Liam, we were just so over the moon excited when we found out we were pregnant. And I had a really rough pregnancy. I was hospitalized more than I wasn't when I was pregnant with him. And this was in my 2nd trimester. So I had a few good weeks. I had a couple good months. First trimester, I was hospitalized. 3rd trimester, I was hospitalized. So this was that sweet spot in the middle. And we went to this Marian apparition site. We went on a pilgrimage. And I remember just praying and thanking the Lord. At one point, I was sitting on a rock and rubbing my big belly. Even then, at that point, I had a pretty big belly. And just thanking the Lord for this gift of this baby. And I heard this voice, like, now I'm going to make you a mom like me. And I remember being like, what the heck does that mean, God? Like, what do you mean a mom like you? And I heard the very first prayer I ever remember praying. And I was in 7th grade. And I heard my little 7th grade voice saying, Mary, make me a mom like you when I grow up. And I heard that little 7th grade voice. And then I think I started crying because I was pregnant and very emotional. And I was just like, thank you, Mary. Let me be a mom like you. And I fail a lot in my mothering, in my parenting. All of my kids will need therapy. I remember Matt asking a good friend of ours, Shane Bennett, when I was pregnant with Liam, and Matt was talking about his fears. So this was our first pregnancy. And he said to Shane, like, aren't you afraid of like, and he has really awesome kids. Matt's good friends with all of his kids, and they're all really beautiful, functioning adults. And he's like, weren't you afraid of messing them up? And he's like, of course. No, I wasn't afraid. Of course they were going to get messed up. Who am I to not mess up my children, not stuff them up? I'm going to. I don't want to deny them the healing of Christ. You're going to mess up as a parent, as a dad, as a mom. You will fail. You need to just make sure they know where to go to get healing. Like, point them to Jesus. Let them get healing from him. And it was just really beautiful, good advice. And I don't know, I just today at Mass when Father was talking, and I was thinking, like, there's many days that we celebrate Our Lady, but I think in particular at Christmas, I think the whole world sees the beauty of a nativity, right? And you can't have a nativity without Our Lady and baby Jesus and Saint Joseph. But really, Our Lady and baby Jesus like had to be there, right? That's where he came out of, who he came out of. And I don't know, just love. She just oozes love and compassion, and she radiates Christ. I don't know. I think whenever I see a new mom, we have a friend that was at Mass today with her newborn, and just the joy, I got to hold a friend's baby last night who's, I think she's only a month old. I don't even know if she's a month old. She's itty bitty. She's gorgeous. And just holding her and just like, what a gift. Like, they're so beautiful and so fragile and so sweet. And like, as if the Lord loves us so much that he sent his only son, this little precious baby, that he came into the world so fragile and so breakable, and he entrusted us to Our Lady. And I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're Catholic or not. I don't know if you have a relationship with Our Lady, but I'm here to tell you she is the only perfect mom. Not that we shouldn't strive to be like her, right? We should strive to be Christ-like, and Christ is sinless. So I think we do strive to be like Our Lady, strive to be like Christ, who is sinless. But we will have shortcomings. We will have failings. We mess up quite a bit. If you're like me, I mess up every day. I'm a big fat sinner. And I don't know, God's mercy is all the more. And if you are in a rough spot and you don't know how to fix whatever situation you're in or who to turn to, I encourage you to turn to Our Lady. She has had my back multiple times in my life. And I am so grateful for her and I love her. And she is my mama. My kids, when they were little, couldn't say Mary, but they would say Mama Ma, Mama Ma, and like point at Our Lady, Mama Ma, because they couldn't say Mama Mary either. But even to this day, I still have, my 7-year-old still calls her Mama Mary. It's just such a personal relationship just because she's so amazing and so beautiful. And I also had a time when Peter almost died. When he was born, he was crazy sick, my youngest, and I wasn't allowed to touch him or hold him. They said that if he were to try to cry, his lungs would puncture, burst, and he'd die. He basically like drowned in his own self. And it was just really scary. And I just wanted to be with him. I wanted to hold him. I wanted to protect him. And a good friend of mine who became our pediatrician, but I wrote to her and I said, this is what's going on. Like, I didn't have a doctor. I lived far from everyone. We were new to Georgia. We didn't have many friends. And she told me, I wrote to her and I'm like, I know you have a bunch of kids. I don't know what type of doctor you are. I need a pediatrician. Please tell me someone I can go to. Not knowing she herself was a pediatrician. So she very much said, here's like doctor advice, here's mom advice, and here's Our Lady. Like, you may not be able to touch him and hold him right now, but he knows your voice, but Our Lady can touch him and hold him. Ask her to wrap her Immaculate mantle around him, around the incubator, and let her protect him during this time. And he knows your voice. Sing to him, talk to him. And it was really beautiful. And I think that, I don't know, I feel like I'm very aware in my life that Our Lady had her hand on me. And I know all of my kids love God, and he is their God. And we're trying to raise them to know what is true, good, and beautiful. But my youngest like has this special, deep connection in this prayer life. And I think it is because I gave him over to Our Lady from the time he was itty bitty, and just asking her to protect him, asking her to, love him. So if you are struggling, if you're in the thick of it and you have really little ones, and you're sleep deprived and you're covered in spit and throw up, or if you're trying to learn how to breastfeed, or maybe you're older and your kids are turned away from the church, turned away from God, living a completely secular life, and your heart is broken and pierced. Our Lady gets that. She gets her heart being pierced by a sword. She gets seeing her son be crucified and brutally murdered. So I just encourage all of you to turn to her today. I don't normally end the podcast with a prayer, but I'm going to. So if you don't mind joining me. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for today. I thank you for the Immaculate Conception. I thank you for choosing Our Lady and protecting her from sin from the moment she was in her mom's womb. And I pray that that you help heal us, the broken parts in our hearts that have been inflicted, wounds that have been inflicted maybe by our own mothers, maybe wounds that we've inflicted onto others, or ways that our heart is broken. I pray that you draw us close to your Heavenly Mother, just like at the foot of the cross when Christ looked at John and said, John, son, behold your mother. Woman, behold your son. I think that he wasn't just saying, here's my mom for you, John, but he was saying, here's my mom for everyone, for the whole world. All of you need my mom. She's amazing. She's beautiful. She's tender. She's merciful. She's safe. She's loving and forgiving and all these amazing, beautiful things. Mama Mary, I pray that you draw us all close to you and close to your son, no matter how far we've gone. And we just entrust to you all our loved ones. In particular, I entrust my dad to you today on his birthday. And I pray for the repose of his parents, especially his mom, that they may be with you in heaven for all eternity. And just draw us all close to your son. Amen. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to be having, I think it'll be a live next week. I am interviewing a pelvic floor specialist. So I know a lot of you Patreon members, thank you again so much for supporting this podcast, for being members on Patreon. If you have questions to ask this beautiful, amazing pelvic floor physical therapist, go to patreon.com/amongthelilies, and you can write your questions there, and I will ask them to Tammy next week. And I have another episode that should be coming out hopefully this week from a gynecologist. So I'm getting really intimate and personal with all of my doctors and therapists, and I'm sharing them with you because I know that they've blessed me and they're helping me in my road to healing. And I think a lot of others can benefit from it as well. So patreon.com/amongthelilies. Thank you so much. If you like this video, if you think other people would benefit from it, please like, subscribe, share it on whatever. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know if you share it on here or you share it on Facebook, Instagram. I don't really know how that works. You do. So you're my people. Please make that happen. Thank you so much. God bless. And I will talk to you later. Bye. Happy Advent.